Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a bike check on this beautifully restored 1987 Diamondback Cool Streak. So let's jump right into it and check out the specifications. Starting at the top, we have Amy new duals. These are white with black accent, and these are available from Porkchop BMX. In the 1987 catalog, the specs say Amy type. I suspect that the original grips were made by Fukang out of Taiwan. The fawn grips would have been definitely used on the strike zone. Donuts. So these are just black donuts, again available from Porkchop BMX. This makes the appearance of the flange look black, which is what it showed in the catalog. Again, my suspicion is the grips were made by Fukang and because they had that black flange. So let me know in the comment section what you think they are and what you may have had on your bike. Brake levers. So I use Diacomp Tech 77 brake levers. These are also available from Porkchop BMX. What was OEM for the 1987 Cool Streak would have been Diacomp Tech 6 levers. I purchased them, but I really didn't like the way the clamp area was and how they looked, so I decided to upgrade to my favorite levers, Tech 7s. However, Tech 7s are very expensive and hard to get, so I decided to go with Tech 77. Now, in my opinion, these are a much better lever by the clasp design. So if you're looking for a really decent brake lever for your old school builds, don't overlook the Tech 77. They arrived on scene about 1989, so they were pretty much used back in the day as well. Brake cables. So the front brake, I used the Diacomp rear brake cable. This is also available from Porkchop BMX. And I used the rear brake cable because of the length. So I wanted to run it through the POTS mod, through the fork, and I really didn't want to struggle with a length problem. So getting the rear cable gives you a little bit of extra cabling and a little bit of extra length to play with. And of course, you just have to trim it to size. The rear brake cable is a combination of the Diacomp brake cable as well as the Rotor kit from Porkchop BMX. And again, the Diacomp logos are all facing the rider on the upper end, make it look nice and neat. Front brake. Originally, the front brake caliper would have been the Diacomp 890 for the 1987 Cool Streak. When I purchased this brake caliper, it was before I decided to use the ACS Rotor, which did not come on the Cool Streak, by the way. By adding the Rotor and utilizing the POTS mod pass-through cable for the stem, it changed the brake cable engagement from the top of the caliper to the bottom of the caliper, meaning the Cool Streak originally had what a racing bike would have had, where the front brake cable comes directly down from above and engages the top of the caliper. This would have led to tangling of the front and rear brake cables as the bar spin. So I decided to switch to the hot streak or what the strike zone would have had, which is, of course, the ACS Rotor. And by doing so, that allowed me to run the cabling through the fork, and then I needed to switch my caliper. So I went with the FS 880 caliper, and I was able to pick up a very nice mint 1987 FS 880 with original paint and Survivor hardware. It's a really nice specimen, even with the OG brake pads. Utilizing the 880 caliper allows for the cabling to engage from the bottom of the brake. The detangler. As most of you Diamondback aficionados know, the 1987 Cool Streak did not have a detangler out of the box. Since I wanted this build to include that feature, I opted for an ACS Rotor. This was one from a 1987 Diamondback Strike Zone, and it's a Survivor ACS Rotor that I restored. You would have found this on the hot streaks as well, but never on the Cool Streak. I did try to mock up an Odyssey gyro, but I didn't like the way it looked or the overall way the cables laid out. So using the ACS Rotor made a lot more sense. I stripped this rotor down, cleaned all the parts. I removed the buildup on the plastic bushings. I used a 00 steel wool to refinish the dull exterior and put it all back together using new Porkchop BMX Rotor cable kit. An ACS Rotor decals from Ultra Hive, which are high quality, and he always provides extras. You know how us humans are. I did apply a little fill wood grease to the stem quill to help everything move freely. I don't know if this is necessary, but I did it anyway. This is my very first rotor, and I actually like the design. Let me know in the comment section which you prefer, the ACS Rotor or the Odyssey Gyro, and maybe why. Moving on to the stem. 1987 Diamondback stem with the POTS mod. I always thought it was odd that Diamondback used the Potts Mod bolt, the hollow bolt, for the cool streak, but really didn't equip it to utilize. This stem was prepped by me to remove the rash, the dents, the scratches, and then it was sent out for powder coat by C4 Labs. New chrome-plated Allen cap screws and BMX Products Repop logo decal. Yes, I'm aware the decal is on backwards. It's on the way I wanted it to face, towards the rider. I also added the Porkchop BMX rotor cable mount that I modified by drilling the through hole larger for the Potts Mod shoulder bolt. Headset. Well, I used the Tioga Bear Trap 2 for the 1-inch threaded with the 32.7mm cups from Porkchop BMX. Now the specs for the Cool Streak lists the headset only as Diamondback, which for all we know could be any brand. But the Strike Zone clearly shows Tioga Bear Trap as OEM. I also needed a 2mm spacer for the 1-inch diameter fork tube, as this fork is actually from a Diamondback Strike Zone, which I'll get into a little bit later. It's slightly longer than the high-10 steel forks used on the Cool Streak. The spacer is available from Porkchop BMX as well. The spacer takes up the extra threads that would protrude through the head tube and the headset. And the upper cup is from an 87 Diamondback Strike Zone, in case you're interested. Moving on to the frame. This is a genuine 1987 Diamondback Cool Streak frame in high-tension steel with the original Freestyle Blue color replicated. This is how it all started. There's another video on this entire subject, and I'll link you to it. If you appreciate, you could check that out. It's awesome. Anyway, this was redone in GT Blue or Hawaiian Blue by C4 Labs. The decals are reproduction BMX products on clear, and they're very high quality. I recommend them if you're looking for reproduction decals for your builds. Brake cable hangers. As shown in the catalog, the bikes use 2 cable management hangers on the top 2 that appear to be somewhat like Diacomp. I used a 28.6mm Diacomp hanger in chrome from Porkchop BMX. They're nice, and they just bolt on, so if you don't want them there, you can always take them off. The fork. 1987 Diamondback Strike Zone full 4130 chromoly fork. I couldn't track down a Cool Streak fork, but I was able to get my hands on a 1987 nearly complete Strike Zone, taking the handlebars and fork as well as the ACS rotor from the Survivor. It's worth mentioning that the Strike Zone head tube is about 1/8 of an inch longer than the Cool Streaks. That means the Strike Zone steer tube is also longer than the Cool Streaks. So you'll need to use a spacer in the headset. Do not cut the steer tube. That's just ludicrous. The forks were sent to C4 Labs for powder coating in GT Blue or Hawaiian Blue or however you want to call it. The exact powder is held under lock and key by C4. It is not a stock color from Prismatic. In the end, the color is perfect, especially in the sunlight. Special thanks to BMXMUSEUM member Irata, who hooked me up with the grip tape for the fork pegs. Way to look out for a fellow member. Handlebars. 1987 Diamondback Strike Zone fully 4130 chromoly handlebars. This was an easy choice, and the condition of the bars was near mint, with some paint fade and loss here and there. C4 Labs once again did the job restoring them and even got the top cross tube center chrome where the knurling is. I really like the Diamondback brazed on brake cables. I think this is a nice touch. It helps keep the cabling neat and out of the way of your feet. I wish GT and other freestyle companies would have done this. It kind of keeps everything in line and like I said, nice and neat. Front wheels. So these are CMC hoops from 1987, and they're in fantastic condition in Survivor with chrome plate. Some pitting here and there, and some of the chrome was a little washed out on the sidewall where the brakes were rubbing. But all in all, these are superb specimens. 36 hole for those who like to count. Hubs are 3-piece KK in chrome finish. And there was some rust and pitting in the hubs, but I was able to get them cleaned up using the Rust-Oleum Rust Remover Jelly. The spokes were pretty much junk, and the finish was less than desirable. The original spokes were cut and carefully removed to prevent unwanted scratching of the hoops. C4 Labs then laced and trued everything back together with chrome-plated new spokes. I'm really happy with the way these turned out. They look awesome. So the rear wheels, the same story here. Just noting that I reused the original axles and bearings for both the front and back wheels. Some new chrome plate hardware as well. Everything was cleaned up and greased, and it spins all day long too. Yes, I even put new rim strips on there. Freewheel. So mounted on the Survivor CMC wheel set was a chrome-plated Dicta 16-tooth freewheel, and it cleaned up very nice, so I reused it. Not sure what the OEM was for the Cool Streak, but you guys can let me know in the comment section what was on your Survivors. The chain. So I went with an Izumi 1/8 inch by half, brand new chain, black on chrome. The catalog showed the chains this way, so I liked the way it looked, so I decided to go with that. Not sure who made the original chains for the Diamondback, but on the Survivor Strike Zone I picked up, it was a KMC chain. Chain ring. Clearly Diamondback used a tough neck or GT look for the Sprocket. This one is made by Lunchi, and it's 44 tooth. The center was powdered white by C4 Labs, and the rest of the finish is original Survivor condition. It's pretty neat looking, and I kind of like the fact that it's all one piece. The cranks. So these are new Porkchop BMX chromoly 175mm one-piece cranks. They are in chrome plate, and they're set up for 1/2 inch threads. This made the most sense to me. Something new, something really chrome looking, and something clean. The bottom bracket. I settled on a Tang sealed ball bearing set for the 3-piece cranks like you would find for the GT Pro Freestyle Tour, T Model, etc. Porkchop sells these. They are part number BB220SB. So if you're doing a 1-piece or a 3-piece Power Series crank from the 80s, this is the setup you want, especially since the sealed bearings do not press into the cups. They just slip in. The choice to use a sealed ball bearing versus that cage ball was mainly because I had them laying around and for the ease of maintenance. The pedals. I settled on VP707 pedals, which I needed to restore. I removed all of the rash and the scratches and then sent them to C4 Labs for white powder coat. The spindles needed to be swapped from 9/16 to a 1/2 inch to work with the 1-piece cranks. So I used a set of VP707 pedals that I had that were basically trash, and I swapped those spindles. The caps were mint, and the seals were in excellent condition. And for what it's worth, it's duly noted that the VP707 1/2 inch pedal bodies are different from the 9/16 pedal bodies. There's even a cast number in the pedal bodies to differentiate them. Yes, the spindle swap without any issue. Don't worry about that. Seat post. Well, I just settled on a Porkchop BMX straight chrome-plated seat post made from chromoly material. And the company that made this is Nito, so they've been around for a while. It's fairly long, but it worked out in my favor. And again, the bikes back then had the straight seat post for like the Viper, the Cool Streak. It wasn't until you got to the Hot Streak and above that they started going with a laid back. So that's what I chose. Now we move on to the seat. The Diamondback Cool Streak seat was made by Aero. And this specimen I got was in pretty bad shape. It was rusted on the rails, and the seat was pretty much yellowed. I tried to brighten it up with Salon 40, but the material just would not take to the reaction. I did it for 3 days in a bag, out in direct sunlight, and just didn't do anything. I suppose the material is vinyl, perhaps, and maybe not ABS. But in the end, the rails cleaned up really well using the Rust-Oleum rust remover, the jelly, and some polishing. The seat was scuffed and cleaned up from all the deep scratches and the rash. I then sanded it with 1000 grit using some plastic adhesion promoter. I was able to paint it with satin white spray paint. I let that dry. Then I wet sanded that to about 800, followed by 1000, and then painted it with gloss and then repeated the process. I tried to paint the letters, but my technique failed, and so I decided to abandon the whole idea. Maybe I'll look back at it and try to repaint them in the future. But as it stands, I'm a little bit standoffish with trying to paint those letters. But I think it looks good nonetheless. So let me know what you think. The seat guts, pretty straightforward here. These are Porkchop BMX chrome guts, and they look good. Okay, on to the rear brake. The original equipment on the 1987 Diamondback Cool Streak was, again, the 890, same as the front. And this is a Porkchop BMX brand new reissued Diacomp 890, and that's what I went with. Tires. So these are Kenda K55 Freestyle tires in white with the skin wall sides. They are 20 by 1.75 for all those who care. And these are also available from Porkchop BMX. Now, the original tires, I don't exactly know what they were, so you can let me know down in the comment section. But I certainly wasn't going to search for those because they're probably dry rotted by now. And this allows you to ride on them because they're readily available. So I think they look nice. I think it looks really good. Valve caps. BMX products, Diamondback dice caps in blue. These are very nice. I highly recommend. They have some really nice products. I really like their decals. Anything about them is communication's a little subpar, but if you buy it, you will get it, and you will not be disappointed. All right, rear pegs. I know somebody's going to point this out, so I might as well discuss and talk about them. These are GT pegs. I had them laying around for a while, and I repaired them, reworked them, sanded them all down, got them back to original look, and basically sent them out for a white powder coat. And I really didn't know what to do with them because I didn't have a new project coming. So I figured, why not throw them on there? They look cool, and without the GT logo, they kind of blend in. So it might be blasphemy. Don't crucify me. I think they look nice. Which brings us to the C-clamp. This is a 1987 era Diamondback C-clamp for 7/8 post, and it was refinished in white by C4 Labs. I used the original hardware because it was in really good shape. And I'd like to note that there are actually two different sizes of the Diamondback C-clamp in this era. There's a large version, which is 27.9 millimeter on the ID. And then there's a smaller version, which is about 7/8 inch, for the ID. So just be aware of that when you're looking for the clamps. Make sure you get the right one because you could fall in that pitfall of, hey, this thing falls all the way down past the seat mast. So just something to note. Tubes. No. You can't be serious. They're just tubes. Okay, but the air, I really use 1987 Diamondback, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, official air. I still have it if you guys want to see it. No, I'm not serious. All right, and that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed the build. I hope you enjoyed looking at the bike. Remember, like the video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. I'm currently up to about 540 subscribers. I'd love to get to 1,000 and do a giveaway. That would be awesome. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll meet you in the comment section, and stay tuned for the next video.